Hey everybody, welcome back to this live episode of Think Like a CEO with myself and Simon Thomas. We are really excited to talk to Maggie Cook. Maggie, I heard you speak about 5.5, 6 years ago, and that's where I met you in a room of about 150 people. You shared your story, and you could hear a pin drop. It was that inspirational, and the buzz was so dynamic that people stayed after and were lining up to meet you, and nobody wanted to leave because everyone wanted to talk about how unbelievable your story was. And I don't even want to share it. I want you to share it. So to kick us off, and really with the mindset of tenacity and discipline and persistence, and really what every person, regardless if you are the owner of a company and a CEO, or any role within a company, having the right mindset and how important it is. So I'd like you to share your story because I don't think I can do it full justice.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show. You want me to start now?
Yeah, kind of give like the 3-minute Maggie version.
3-minute Maggie. Oh my goodness. Well, I was born in an orphanage in central Mexico in Michoacan, and I have 68 siblings, and I grew up in a life of very a lot of poverty and a lot of different types of suffering. And I always was thinking about how can I get out of here. And I adapted a mentality early on to change the way that I thought, that the way that I saw the world, even though I didn't see anything outside the barbed wire fence. So I adapted this mentality. I created vision boards, goals. This is before I even read a book that had anything to do with inspiration. And my life really transformed to something that I never thought it would be possible, just because of the type of mindset and mentality thinking that I decided to set on since I was 8 years old, and seeing some things that I decided, I'm going to be something. I'm going to be something big. I'm going to help people, and I didn't know what that meant. I was recruited to play basketball, and I broke my collarbone. I was supposed to go to play for the Mexican national team, and I'm 5'2", so that was pretty good. I practiced in the orphanage with a blindfold, and but I broke my collarbone, couldn't go, and then I was recruited to play ball in the U.S. for a university, and graduated, but then became homeless because I couldn't find a job, and then started my company with after somebody got me out of the streets. Started my company with $800, Fresh Salsa company, and it grew to multi-million-dollar company. And then in 2015, it sold with Garden Fresh to Campbell Soup for 231 million. So hopefully that's short enough for you.
I mean, we're going to dive into a bunch of tentacles, but I wanted you to give the gist. I mean, Simon, is that unbelievable?
That's an unbelievable story. That's the American dream right there. I mean, you hear about, you hear people that say, I don't have a shot, or I don't, well, look, you can do it, I can't. And it's like, it's frustrating because when you hear these stories, it's like, you can do it. You know what I mean? It's all mindset, and that's remarkable. That's unbelievable.
I want Maggie to go into one more element of your story that about how everyone told you you could never make it as a fresh salsa company, and how you persevered, and then when you got that first call from Whole Foods.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I submitted my products for distribution with the FDA, the top inspector told me to cook my products like everybody else because I only had a 15-day shelf life. It's a fresh salsa, like a pico de gallo. And I said, no. I said, because she told me by the time I got into the stores, I would have 5 days left for people to buy it. And I said, no, I'm going to stick with it because I had hope. I've seen technologies that perhaps in the future could help me. And years later, I saw her at a farmer's market, and she said, remember when I told you that to cook your products? And I said, yes. She says, well, I'm glad you didn't listen to me. And I really believe that if you have something really good, just stick with it. The proof is in the people. You don't just think that you have something great and it's the greatest thing and it doesn't sell, because you need proof from people. People tried it and they thought it was great. So I thought I knew I had something. So I kept persevering. I mean, I made a long list of stores to call. I think the first 90 told me no, they hang up on me. And then I decided to turn my list upside down because I had listed them from the smallest to the largest. And then I called the Whole Foods Market, and with the next day, they called me. It was 6 p.m. They wanted to meet me the following day at 9 a.m. So I literally went back to the kitchen, made the product, met with them, and I went from making $12,000 a year to almost $2 million that year, just from Whole Foods. And it's just because I didn't give up, I didn't quit. And the biggest thing, for me was disruption. There's not any fresh salsa companies back then, 15 years ago, that I know of that were fresh. And so when you come up with a new product, and thinking like a CEO, you have to really look at, I might have something new that the market doesn't appreciate it right now, but if I keep pushing and enough people try it, then I'm going to have that breakthrough. And that's really what happened to me. And I know that it can happen for you too, if you can take whatever you have and just, give it something new, something special, something that hasn't been done before, something that adds value that can really change the lives of people. And that's really how you grow big as a company.
That's awesome. And when you talk about salsa, like it's not just salsa, right? Like it helps people and like it's the passion. So you can feel it just, in that 2 minutes. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Simon, can you imagine a room full of people with that story and with all the detail and a 30-minute version of that, where everyone was like wowing every moment of it, and thinking about to themselves, the hardship of their day, which was, which seemed so small in the moment. But, I want to just kind of talk about a little bit more about the disruption and the discipline and the perseverance that you had to go through and how you mentally got through it. We're sitting here and it's the last quarter of the year. We are, I'm just going to mute this. We're sitting here and it's the last quarter of the year. And this is a really important quarter, right? I mean, we're going through COVID. It's been very difficult. I think this quarter requires a lot of discipline for companies, the right mindset to, keep going and growing. And so what seed are you suggesting that you plant in people to just really, hyper focus these next couple months and just crush it?
Well, I think that, people really need to focus on opportunity. Not focus on what's happened, the problems, that side of it, but what's the opportunity that you can see in something. And sometimes it takes somebody else from the outside looking at it because you're used to seeing something so often that you don't see any possibilities. So that, and just do the best that you can. Always hire the best that you can. Always get the best products available, because those things are really what differentiate you from average people. Value is huge. How much value can you offer? If you can offer more value with what you do compared to the other people that are your competition, then you're setting yourself at a totally new stage, at a totally new level. And that's really what makes you go from good to great.
Yeah.
What would you say, like, a lot of people have a great idea and a lot of people have great products, but they don't take it to the next level. And there's a lot of challenges and hurdles that they come across. They hit a wall and then they stop, or they hit a couple walls in a row and they're just beat up or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons why, but they have a great product. I mean, and what would you say, like, what motivated you, or, not being surrounded, or maybe you were, but growing up in a business household, or, learning this stuff at a young age, how did you get through that? Or did you have like a mentor? Did you, what was your biggest, reasons for going through those? Because I know you had to have them. Everybody does at the level at every level.
Well, that's actually a great question, because one of the things that I learned, and I learned this late, is get help. Ask for help. Get a mentor, get somebody to help you, coach you through the process who has done it. I learned it the hard way. I guarantee you that if I would have asked for help, I would have had less frustration, less overwhelmment, less thought of quitting because I did have that. I'm a human being, and if I had had that help, I would have probably been more successful, even more successful with what I had. And the thing is, you don't have to suffer. There are people out there like you guys, like myself, they can hold your hand, they can take you through and help you grow, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't. And that's one of the things that I preach about, because that's the one thing that I did not do. And the only reason I did not do it was because I kept getting rejected for help and people wouldn't help me. And I stopped. And you should never stop asking for help, because there's always someone that could truly help you who has done it. They can help you take your business to the next level.
Yeah, I agree with you more. I think that it is, it requires a lot of vulnerability to ask for help and to keep on asking for help. I think that's so important. I want to dive into that question though about asking for help, and something you said earlier, which is sometimes you're seeing things so often that you don't see the opportunity. And I see that a lot. I'm a big believer that the same level of consciousness that got you to where you are can't get you to where you want to go. Mm-hmm. And even on a day-to-day basis, right? Like what I know today is more than I knew yesterday, but sometimes I don't raise the consciousness of the lenses that I'm seeing the opportunity. I still see it as I saw it yesterday. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not upping my game. I'm not getting a mentor, asking for help, or making that extra call, or doing that extra something. And so how would you, so we just say, you're an inspirational speaker, you're unbelievable, you're a coach, you do a lot of amazing things, and we'll get into that. But how do you get people, when you're working with them, to kind of say, here's the opportunity, but look at it with a new lens, and this is how you look at it with a new lens every day?
Mm-hmm. Well, this is one thing that I did actually when I was growing my company, is I went through the production areas and I saw the processes, and my team was great, and I made them thinking CEOs, and I would ask them, what would Maggie do? But talk to me first, right? Talk to the team. And everything was running. The biggest issue with the food industry, for example, for me, is if you have one recall, because my products were in 38 states, thousands of products distributed. If you get one recall, you can take your whole company down because they shut you down. The FDA shuts you down. You've probably seen that in the news. So that was my fear. And so what I did was, how can I prevent from that happening? And how can I make sure that my processes are as clean as possible, that you could eat from the floors, that the food would never be contaminated? And so the Department of Agriculture and the FDA, the inspectors who inspected our kitchens, they always inspect restaurants and manufacturers once a year at least. And they're so afraid, business owners are so afraid, they're going to come in, they're going to shut us down. No, I invited them every week. And I said, can you walk the floor with me and tell me if my team is doing something that, things that are not. And yes, they're like, oh my gosh, look, they're grabbing the table like this. There's probably a lot of germs and they're touching the food. So I put buckets with sanitizer, and they would dip their hands, the food sanitizer, in everything they touch. So small things like that can make a whole difference, because one person getting sick for me could cost my business, and it could cost me everything. So what is it? What's costing you? What is it, the issue that you're going through that's costing you? And how can somebody from the outside can come in and see, okay, this is what I'm seeing, but I know that you're not seeing it because you're used to seeing this other stuff.
Yeah.
The key thing is bringing people from the outside and looking in. And it takes maybe sometimes one or two, maybe a financial person, maybe an accounting person, maybe someone else. Just ask for help and see, what can you show me? Because that can save you everything.
That's one of my favorite things I've ever heard. Inviting the food inspectors every week.
Yes. And I loved it. And they were happy.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. When you got, like, when you received that first order, or Whole Foods, that had to be a little overwhelming. Did they do it in a way where they just gave you a couple stores, tried you out? How did that work? They phased you in, and then other food grocery stores started picking you guys up. How did that process go?
I had to grow very quickly, very rapidly, but I did it strategically. I went from making 250 pounds of salsa a week to 10,000 pounds of salsa was my first order. So I had to learn how to hire people, how to retain people, and I learned. I have so many stories. They're hilarious, but because everything as a leader emanates from you, and your culture, or company reflects that. And so when I started with, I didn't know what I was doing, but I was doing it right, and I realized how important it is to understand your why you're doing what you're doing, because when you understand that and you coach the people that are in your organization to be focused on that why, then the entire company's focused on that. And guess what, guys? We're a fresh salsa company. There's nothing like it. We just got a Whole Foods order. This is my talk to my 20 people, the first 20 people that I ever hired that I had no idea how to hire. And I said, and we're going to be the best salsa company in the whole world. And this is what we get. This is what the product is. And my name is Maria Magdalena de la Cruz Garcia. I grew up in an orphanage. I had started with nothing. They're like, oh my gosh, they were the best working people I ever had. But guess what? With a conversation with a guy in one of our breaks, because I had gave him food every break, and we talked about how we could improve production every day. And he stayed back. He was an African-American guy. And I said, what's up? And he says, well, thank you so much for hiring me. Nobody would hire me. I said, why? Why not? You're awesome. He says, well, I just came out of prison. I did this, and that. And I was like, no. I said, you're great. You're awesome. Let's just go back to work. I stayed because they gave me 20 people. And they gave me all the people that came from jail, work release, that come to work and go back to jail, all of them. But they were the best working people I ever had because I was focused on the why, and they were all focused on the why. You should have seen them. They were dancing to music while making salsa. They were fighting over the equipment because somebody wanted to do it because they thought they could do it better. I mean, it was amazing because I was focused on that. And that's really important for any business.
Yeah. Maggie, I love every part of your stories. I love. I'd like to dive a little bit into accountability. As a coach, I talk a lot about having accountability partners, but I also talk about the importance of self accountability, right? And you're oozing that when you're talking about inviting the food inspectors in, empowering people so they have that innate accountability to for themselves and for the company and for you. And so how, especially in today's market when there's more distractions and kids are my kids are at the table doing homework and they're older, but many have younger kids and people are working remotely, how are you suggesting to people that they hold themselves accountable, and not only hold themselves accountable to do what they say they're going to do, but hold themselves accountable to continually grow?
It starts with knowing your direction. You're exactly where you're going, where you are and where you want to be. The purpose of it. Are you happy doing what you're doing? If not, change it. What is your why? One of the things that I do every single morning to keep me accountable with my mentality, I'm not done with it, but I have this journal that I write, and there's five different things that I answer. And these things give me the focus and the accountability to stay positive mentally. Yesterday was a tough day for me. I'm going to be very honest with you, but this journal, what I started writing here, has nothing negative. I'm looking at the good things that happened yesterday so that I can create and attract more good things to happen for me. And that's an accountability to myself. And I think being accountable starts with you. You don't need to wait for anybody else to say, hey, I'm holding you accountable. How are you holding accountability to yourself? And that starts with mindset. What you do the first thing that you wake up. I have 5 different incantations that I do when I wake up every morning, and I say them in my mind, and it gets me going. If you wake up and you stub your toe in the corner of the bed and you get so angry, then and you don't do anything about setting habits and mentality, then the rest of the day is how it's gonna go. That's happened to me, and I'm sure it's happened to a lot of people. So what are you doing the moment you wake up? Because that's when your subconscious mind is at that stage of the new what's going to happen the rest of the day. And so to me, that's so important. It makes my whole day. It makes it creates a success for the rest of what I'm trying to do with my day. And that's really, for me, that's the foundation of holding myself accountable to myself and knowing the direction that I want to be in. And my incantation talks about my why. One of them talks about where I want to go, where I want to be, and how many people I'm going to reach and be an inspiration to them. So it's important to have something in place to stay centered and focused to who you really are and what you're doing in the world in this time, to really be an inspiration and touch people's lives and change people's lives with your products and services.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, and I find this very interesting all the time, and a lot of business owners that I know, we talk about this a little bit, and obviously when you start a business, you have grand visions, and you think you're going, you have a lot of vision, obviously, as a visionary and as a founder, and you took it from nothing to selling it for 231 million. You are in the grind of things, every day, all day. And when you own a business and you're making money, you still have the pressure of all the things. Like COVID could happen, right? Somebody could get sick and shut you down tomorrow, right? Even though you're making money, you have all this pressure and all this stuff going on 24/7. And the moment you sold that company for that number, walking out of that room after you signed the deal or whatever, what was that feeling? What was going through your mind, and what was that feeling like? I know you probably still went back to work, obviously, but it's got to be the most unbelievable feeling in the world, maybe besides having kids or something. But I love to know that feeling.
Well, it certainly when you get to a certain level of success, it's certainly not, oh my gosh, I made so much money, I'm rich. It's like, oh my gosh, I made so much money, how I can, what can I do now to inspire and to make a difference in a greater way? How can I give back? Because I will tell you that if I was gonna die tomorrow, I don't get to take anything with me.
Of course.
Everything that you have built up is your spirit and what you become as a person, that you are able to transcend and inspire and transform the lives of other people in this world in this time. Because people can, that's it right there. I mean, it's not about how much money you can, and that's why you have to really think about what really is the meaning of life to you and for you. Obviously, having balance with financial stability is important, but at some point you get to the point where, why am I really, if I was to die tomorrow or a week from now, what would I do in this week? Like, what would I do in this week that would give me that peace to knowing that I'm okay going because I did these things? And why not start living that way right now? Because we really don't know.
Right.
Yeah,
and I don't look at it as definitely. I'm like, a money thing isn't why. Like I don't do what I do for a money thing, but it is definitely you're in this grind every day. You're in this focus every day, and then almost like it's like, you're shifting. You're shifting direction. It's like sell salsa, make salsa, have great culture. It's like you built this thing that it's taken you so long, and you've wrapped your head around it to, now what's next? And with that, the type of person that you are, it's not like you're just going to go travel the world and sleep all day. Like, that doesn't work like that. So yeah, like that, the mindset is got to be, was it hard for you to find that mindset, or was it something that came natural to you?
No, I think that once you practice a certain type of mindset and mentality every single day, you cannot waver from that. Nothing can stop you from, I have this thing where if I feel I have this awareness where I feel any kind of ill feelings in my gut and my spirit, I can change it within 30 to 60 seconds, 90 seconds, like that. And it doesn't matter what happens, even with COVID. What is the opportunity? What is the opportunity that I can see in this? Because you have to think about, from a business perspective, what do people really need right now? What do people really want right now? And focus on that. And that's going to be the new direction that you need to take at this time. That doesn't mean that everything that you've done before, you have to stop doing it. No. How can I innovate that? How can I create that opportunity? And that's really when you separate yourself from a company that's going to fail or somebody that's going to succeed.
Yeah.
Great advice.
I love what you're talking about, and let's just talk we have a couple minutes left. So let's talk about what you've done since you've sold your company. You're a speaker. You inspire people. You coach people. Give us kind of a gist of what you're doing now, Maggie.
So I've been speaking all around the world, and since COVID happened, obviously everything got canceled. And I was creating financial wealth that way, and because of COVID, obviously everything, I had to go to virtual, which is not the same thing, and it's not the same in every aspect of it. So what I did was I pivoted my business to something that I've never done before, which is creating online programs and being able to offer help to people in a totally different way, in a totally different new outreach, which is virtually. And now I, coach people who successful companies that are making six figures and want to make seven or more. And I do this by I have these online programs, and I have one-on-one Zoom calls with me personally every single week with them, and knowing and discovering where they are, and giving them the strategies to really scale their company in these times. And so that's been a tremendous help for me as far as, discovering and growing, which I love doing. I'm learning. One of the things that I have here on my thing that I do every day, that I write is what is the one thing that I learned today? What is and I'm not just talking about I learned something that somebody told. No, I actually go online and learn things that make me better so that I can teach it, or that I can help other people become better because of it. And I do it there's not one day that I not have, the one thing that something new that I learned today is one of them. I have 5 of them. So it is so important to continuously evolve and grow and become better as a human being, because that's how you change the world.
I love it. Well, Maggie, I know you are changing the world. Couple last minute questions. Speed round. Favorite book and why?
Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. First book I read cover to cover, and I had me on tears, and it changed my life.
Yeah, great book. And Four Agreements, also one of my favorites.
Yes.
Yeah. Simon, you got a question for Maggie?
No question. It's unbelievable, remarkable story. I have a million questions, and we'd be on for all day, but I don't want to do that to you. So your story is unbelievable. I mean, we need more people with that mindset, and especially with what's going on in the world, that keeping everything positive is and finding opportunity, and what taking a challenge and turning it into an opportunity is what we preach all day at Dobie, and hearing it from you is reassuring, and it's awesome. So congratulations, and just keep doing what you're doing. It's sweet.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Maggie, you continue to inspire me every time I talk to you, and keep doing. My wife's grandmother always, when she likes something that somebody does, she'll always say she's 95 years young, and she always says, "Keep doing what you're doing." You're doing awesome things, and tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, Maggie.
You can get a hold of me by going to my website, MaggieCook.com. It's Maggie with 1 G. Remember that, because I'm special, right? And you can also go to meetmaggie.com with 1 G. And if you want to schedule a time to talk, we can strategize for your life and business.
I love it. All right, Maggie, I appreciate you being on the show. Thanks so much. It was awesome. I think this is definitely one that people should listen to at least twice. Simon, always fun doing this with you. And thanks to you both. Have an awesome rest of the day.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks.